Why, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Paper Trail. I'm the Archive Curator, and today we're going to talk a bit about some history. So, history in America is usually taught in separate pieces. Let's be honest, one month we look at Black history, then another month we look at Hispanic American history, and then we clump all Asian Americans together as if they're the exact same. It feels like we're getting random puzzle pieces at this point, but never seeing the whole picture. But you know what? The truth is very simple. We were all here living through the same exact moments under the same exact sky. Our histories are not separate. They're a part of one big story. So in today's video, we're looking at early America up into the year 1860. We're going to start putting these puzzle pieces together. Let's begin. If history is a puzzle, here's where we start putting the pieces together. Chinese American history isn't an isolated chapter. It's woven right into everything else happening in early America. To see that clearly, we need to look at who these early immigrants were, what language they spoke, and what America looked like when they arrived. Let's start by clearing up a big misunderstanding. Early Chinese immigrants did not come from all over China. Actually, most came from one region, Guangdong, and they didn't speak Mandarin. They spoke Taishanese, a branch of Cantonese. If you ever watched the movie Sinners, Taishanese is a language Grace and Bo Chow spoke. That's the sound of early Chinese America, and this is the important part. Chinese American culture is Cantonese based. It's not the same as the Mandarin speaking mainland Chinese culture people imagine today. Chinese American culture is even more distinct because it comes from the traditions that people brought before the Cultural Revolution. Before so many dialects, customs, and everyday practices were changed or erased in the mainland, what developed here wasn't a copy of China. It became its own culture shaped by Taishanese roots, Cantonese traditions, and the realities of surviving in America. Also, textbooks often say Chinese history in America starts with the 1848 gold rush, but that's not the real beginning. Chinese sailors and traders were already arriving in American ports in the late 1700s, right when the U.S. began trading with Guangzhou. The story starts earlier than most people realize. Now that we understand who these early immigrants were, the next question is, what did it feel like to be Chinese in America at that time? To answer that, we have to start with one of the earliest stories we have. A 14-year-old girl who was brought here long before most people even knew what Chinese meant. The first recorded Chinese woman, or girl, to arrive was Ah Feng Moi, who came to the U.S. in 1834 at just 14 years old. Merchants brought her here to help sell goods like tea and porcelain, and they didn't present her as a real person. They dressed her up in clothing meant to look royal as if she were an empress and staged a room to match the fantasy version of China they imagined. People paid 50 cents just to look at her sit there. It sounds unbelievable when you say it out loud, but that is exactly what happened. We'll have a separate episode dedicated to her story later on, but to understand the full picture of this time period, we can't leave out her arrival or her presence. Until then, let's look at what else was happening in the country during those same years. In 1831, Nat Turner leads a major revolt against slavery. Then in 1836, Texas fights for independence from Mexico. In 1838, the U.S. government forces Native Americans onto the deadly Trail of Tears. Already, history we have been taught starts to look different. It's not just a black and white story. Chinese, indigenous, black, Hispanic, and many others all had a presence in early America. Ah Feng Moi's arrival gives us a timestamp, proof that Chinese people were here earlier than most people realize. With that in place, we can step back and look at the bigger picture, the 13 years of history unfolding around her. Now we get to the period between 1848 and 1860. This is the moment most people point to as the beginning of Chinese American history. But as we've already shown, the story starts much earlier. Here's what's actually happening during these years. In 1848, Chinese men arrive in California to search for gold. In 1849, Harriet Tubman escapes slavery and begins the Underground Railroad. In 1850, the government passes a harsh law to catch escaped slaves. In 1852, Uncle Tom's Cabin is published by Harriet Beecher Stowe. In 1854, young Wayne graduates from Yale. He's the first Chinese student to earn a U.S. college degree. In 1857, New York destroys Seneca Village, a successful black neighborhood, to build Central Park. And quick warning, if you ever want to Google Seneca Village, you'll see old drawings of broken, messy shacks. But those are fake images created by the newspapers at the time. They just wanted the neighborhood to look run down so the city could justify destroying it. But in reality, Seneca Village was actually a beautiful, thriving community where black residents owned two-story homes and built real generational wealth. Anyway, in 1859, Josh Brown tries to start a slave revolt at Harper's Ferry. At the same time, the first blues music begins growing in the Deep South. Then in 1860, Abraham Lincoln is elected president, and the country is on the verge of war. These stories don't run in separate lanes. They overlap. Our ancestors did not live in separate worlds. They lived through the same storms, faced the same unfair systems, and survived together. I want you to look into this yourselves. If you want to learn more about Afang Moy or explore resources on other moments in history, please visit my site, Follow the Paper Trail. Link will be in the description below. You'll find articles, sources, and tools to help inspire your own history research journey. And you'll see for yourself how all of our communities were here at the same time. I thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to know when I upload a new video. And until next time, later trails.